Hey everyone, Derek Tangredi here for part two of my presentation just relating to creating interactive slides within Office tools, and in this case PowerPoint. So one of the first things that I'm just doing here is I'm showcasing a picture prompt or a poem where students would look at this picture image and they would construct either words or phrases within these text boxes and just think of as many of them as they can to brainstorm based on a shared reading that we were doing during class. Now, what would eventually happen is they would move into the next section, which is to categorize those words or phrases and put them in the proper classification. And eventually they would finish by taking both those portions and now combining to write like some type of purpose, whether it be like through use of narrative writing, prose, poetry, whatever it may be, or whatever you're having them study. But now what I just really noticed, and the real intention here is, rather than just posting slides and giving them like a lecture, we're really trying to get them to, or really trying to transfer more agency towards them and getting them to construct their knowledge and showcase it. So think of it kind of like assessment prior to assessment. And students are more self-assessing by looking at the work that they're actually doing. Now, how that can really change is as we move into like a math example, and I forgot to put these back, so I'll put them back for a second. You'll see that's actually almost a good reason why you would want to do what you'll want to do, and you'll see kind of what I mean in a second here. So what I have going on here is I have this like interactive math challenge, and use the cards and place them in a table to represent the graph on the left-hand side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to term one, and I'm going to go up to the value. So at term one, I see a value of y, so a term value of 2. So what I would do, or students would do rather, while I'm like teaching this, is they would take it and they would find 2 and the value of y, and they would drag it across. So when they see term number 2, they're going to find the value of 4 and drag it across. Now you may have already seen some of the benefits of why I've left white squares that you cannot move or manipulate underneath. So the reason I've done that is I've locked everything so that students can't delete any of my original work, whether it be like unintentional, intentional, anything like that, because you're going to spend a lot of time customizing these, making them work better for you. You're going to put a lot of like time into the aesthetics eventually, I'm sure. And you don't want all that work lost for nothing. So the blue slides, like let's say students made an error and they don't know where to go back. Like right now, all I have to do is bring them back just so that they can see where they are. But if they just deleted the only one, say this 4 got deleted and I wasn't sure what number was there, I'd have to go back and change that, especially on all like your master copies. So you might not want to have that issue. It just makes it a lot easier both for the students and for yourself. So another little issue that like will come up. So right now, the only parts that are really interactive are the blue or colorful portions. So what I've really done, I'm going to showcase where like you could eventually have an issue. So in this one, I've like you're not really able to maneuver and like move any of this as a background, but I'm going to show you some tips and tricks how to make that easier. But I want to show you like kind of a failure that can happen. Let's say you wanted to make these interactive slides. You're like, sure, sounds awesome. And then you go and you just try to make a colorful text box. Well, when you use a text box, you're like, if you just do a text box and type in, look what happens when I drag. I just drag the colorful box over, but I don't have it locked in with like the numerical value that goes within. So I did it once on purpose and just did one quick one, and I did it in white text. And the difference here is that we're actually using shapes. So how you would end up doing this is you would be going into insert and you would go to shape and you would actually pick whichever shape you want, and then you can just type within the shape. That is the way to go for interactive slides, in my opinion. There is a workaround you can do the other way, but this is a thing that I had to learn, and it makes a world of difference. As you go forward, you'll be able to make so many of your own problems using virtual manipulatives. And what I noticed is I was sending students all over the place trying to go to different websites like, okay, now use a number line. Here we need 10 frames. Here we need dominoes, like whatever it may be, like Cuisenaire rods, anything. But I wanted to create my own like manipulatives based on my own questions and putting them into my own work. So I make all these virtual manipulatives and I get students to use like abstraction and different mathematical concepts to see, does this make sense? So now students try to make this like equation like correct is they would like drag over another one and they're constructing it, and we get to see like what else do they need to know. Now these can get obviously progressively more difficult, but this is just more to show you a couple of examples of what can be and like how to create your own. And you're not really limited to anything, whether you be a music teacher, administrator, anything for your staff meetings, whatever it may be. This has been a really great way to make it more inviting, and people are actually doing something within it, and they get to actually have some voice and choice in the matters. So like how to build. So I really just said like design a slide for students. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. I said don't include anything you want to be interactive like initially in your slides, and I'll explain why. And then you're finally going to download the slide using the file and then download as, and you can select it as a PDF, a PNG, or a JPEG. Excuse me. And then under design, you're going to upload that image as a background, and I'll show you more what I mean. Here's just like another example of like where you could use this, and you're like, okay, North America, interactive maps. And trust me, there's a lot more that can be done with this. This is just one portion, so I'm going to kind of show you that now. So if I want to go and like show you like how to make a slide. So here's what I would do. Let's say we're starting from scratch. So I even may, I'm going to delete this just so we don't really have to worry. And I'm going to start like an entirely new presentation. So if I go here and I wanted to add like a new slide. So here I'm in a new presentation. I always start and I make 2 slide decks really, and I'll explain why. There's a couple ways you can do this. But let's just say you call this like slides 1 just to start. So slides 1 is where I start just on my background information, like where I'm going to make the interactive slide without anything that I want to be interactive. So pretend for a second that I've designed an entire slide on here that's perfect, and I'll show you how you can do that. So if you go to design, the design tab up at the top, you can actually just upload a background that you already have existing, whether you found an image or you created it yourself within another slide deck. So I'm going to select background, and I'm going to go picture from file, and I'm going to find it. So right now, if I go to my desktop, I'll see interactive slide 1. So I'm going to open this up and insert. And what it does is, this is really beneficial. It gives me my entire background where it's locked. So now notice, students, staff, anybody can't edit any of this stuff, which is what I want. It's perfect because now I don't have to worry about any of these parts getting deleted or people accidentally moving text boxes and tables around, and trust me, that will happen. So now like I already have this working slide deck ready to go, but how do I make it interactive? What do I want the students to be able to control? Well, now I'm going to go up to my insert tab, and I'm going to look for the shapes icon. So when I see shapes with the drop down arrow, I can select anything I want. So let's just select the rectangle. You can pick really whatever you want. And now I'm just going to move it over the numbers that I already had originally. And now all I can simply do is just type in over top. And now, and like, of course I can format this a little differently and make it like change the font and make it look like aesthetically different. But now look what I have. I can actually drag this value over. So I put a couple of things in that they need or don't need, and I would put the perfect fit. But now this is my interactive part. So once you have a background, you just add shapes, which can also act as text boxes, and you can manipulate those. So think of these as your virtual manipulatives. So normally what I would do is I would create these slides and keep going and just adding the new thing. So for example, let's say I wanted to, I already had another background or image I either found online or created myself. So I would go to new slide, and let's just make it blank because I know that's what I'm gonna need. And I'm gonna go to design again. I'm gonna go to background, picture from file, and then I'm just gonna find my interactive slide 2, which I already showed you in like the slide deck. So now I just insert that as my background, and I've got all these different shapes. But if I want to make these interactive where they can find the like triangle classifications with different angular measurements, I have to go to insert, and you got it, shape. And I'm going to take this shape, I'm going to drop it in, and now I'm just going to like fit it. I can make it like the same, and I would copy this. So what my suggestion would be is once I get it like to the correct size, which is not this, but let's just say it was. So I would just like depending on what computer you're using, copy and paste it. And now you would actually have your slide, which is working, and you can put this wherever you deem it to go. Now notice my number actually goes with me now because it's in a shape. So it actually completes like the text box for you. It makes a world of difference. Now the other option, I'm going to just show you real quick what else you could do. So let's say you wanted to build something within like OneDrive, which is a great idea. So I'm going to go to, or here, maybe I'll just do it this way. So let's just say I'm going to do, my other option is doing something totally different. So I'm going to delete these two slides for a second. I'm going to delete these and I'm going to click to add a new slide, just like I did before. So you could also just simply, if you really wanted to, start building a slide deck in slide 1. So let's just say I wanted to, I don't know, I'm going to do something. So I'm going to go to Insert Pictures. I'm going to find a picture on the internet. Let's just go to like map. So I'm searching a map. Okay, I've got this map. I'm building this as my background. So this would be you, like it's the first time, just building this out. So you want to make like a map, and like of course we can change what this is going to look like in terms of size and things. Like, okay, here's my thing. Now I want to add a shape, so I want to give students instructions. So you could do like something along these lines. And what you could do is give them like instructions, like move shapes. So now I've got the shape and move shapes from left or from right hand side to given location. And of course I would spend more time on doing this, but you'll just kind of see what I mean. So now, like, let's just say you were happy with this, but you just wanted to add the locations over here on the right, and they would drag them over on the map. What you would then do, because right now, if you just left it, students could move this, they could change the instructions for you. You actually need to like lock it in place. So if you were just happy with this is exactly what you wanted, you could go to File, Download As, and I really encourage to download as like an image or a PDF. So if you download as an image, you download this and you'll see like, okay, I've got this slide. So I'll just quickly open it up, and I can just keep it there right now as slides 1 JPEG, okay? Now, like what happens, what I would normally do is I would have to create a new slide presentation, which I could have a new slide deck out, but let's just say this one was my new one. So I'll like delete this. So here's my new one. I'm going to call this slides 2. So you would have a second slides presentation open. And now all I would do is what I showed you originally, which is just add that as a background. So now I would just go, okay, I'm happy with what I made. So let's go to Design. Let's go Insert a Background, Picture from File. Let's put this in. And now I would go to my Downloads. And I know I had that slides 1 file in there, and I just made it. I insert. And notice it's going to fit perfectly. So you never have to worry about fit. And of course I would change some of this. But now the only thing I would want to do is add my interactive pieces. So again, I go back to Insert, I find my shapes, and I drag them over. And of course I could change the color, I can change all like those things. This is just like for you to get started and try it out. So I could just put like, I don't know, Canada, there we go. And now I could leave whatever interactive pieces I want on the side. Of course I can reduce this in terms of size. And now these would be my only interactive things that I've made on the side, which students would then drag over and be like, oh, I know where Canada is. I know where the United States is. I know where wherever is. And that's as simple as it is just to make these. And of course, it can get a lot more intense. But these are just a quick way to do it. And you'll find things that work for you and your students. And hopefully it makes a difference in your classroom. I hope that helps. But if you do have questions, please let me know and I'm happy to help.